right. Good morning, everyone. Oh, wow. It's dark on one side of my face here. Let's fix that. There we go. Fun morning. All right. Hopefully, everyone's doing great out there today. We are going to read Proverbs 4. That's what? Proverbs 21 today. My goodness. Got a lot on my mind. Um, Finishing up this fasting journey I'm on. So I've got a lot that I'm processing through. Yeah, that's probably a bit much to say publicly, but I'll just say I've got some things I'm starting to get energized about, which is great. But anyway, let's move on for now with a bit of prayer before we get started, shall we? Father God, thank you for mouths that make the right words. And thank you for the ones that don't. Father, thank you for the joy that you give us, the wisdom that you give us to share and to use. And Father, I ask that today you would take the words from my mouth and the mumblings of my mouth and make them into something that is useful for someone else today. But also today, Father, I ask that you would cleanse us of any iniquities or any sins or any doubts we have, and allow us to walk cleanly in your presence and in your guidance this morning. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. Let's do this. Proverb 21, reading from the Message translation this morning. Good leadership is a channel of water controlled by God. He directs it to whatever ends he chooses. Pardon me a moment. Yeah, we're going to try this one more time with some water. So yeah. Good leadership is a channel of water controlled by God. He directs it to whatever ends he chooses. We justify our actions by appearances. God examines our motives. Clean living before God and justice with our neighbors mean far more to God than religious performance. Arrogance and pride, distinguishing marks in the wicked, are just plain sin. Careful planning puts you ahead in the long run. Hurry and scurry puts you further behind. Business advice there, believe it or not. Make it to the top by lying and cheating. Get paid with the smoke and a promotion to death. Oh my gosh. A promotion to death. Wow. The wicked get buried alive by their loot because they refuse to use it to help others. Mixed motives twist life into tangles. Pure motives take you straight down the road. The cat feels ways about things this morning. I think it's because I'm standing instead of sitting. And so he's like, wait, what are you doing? Let's see here. So, yeah, good stuff here. So, I've mentioned this one before in 21 too. We justify our actions by our appearances, but God examines our motives. That we our pattern of behavior, and should I call it out? Yeah, I'm going to call it out. Let's just say that I saw some things in a news event at a certain political rally this week that kind of made this very clear, that this is something that is very clear in our culture. And I want to be clear about this. I don't think that politics influence culture. I think culture influence politics. I believe that at my core. Um, I really do. So what we're seeing expressed there is a result of, not cause of. I want to be very clear on that, but because I see it on both, I see it everywhere. Actually, my eyes are open to this. But we justify our actions by appearances. It's what our nature does, And this is nothing new. We have to recognize that. This is not some just newfangled thing that is all of a sudden a reality. That's not what this is. That's not reality here. Um, we have always kind of had this default setting of wanting to do appearances. And this morning, I'm composing a podcast that I'm going to be putting together. Pardon me. Oh my gosh, for those in information technology that are. It's about imposter syndrome, and yeah, it's right there. It's we do tend to focus on our appearances or what appears, and so we'll in information technology a lot of times what you'll see is people will posture. They'll do things like, you've had this experience, well, I've had these experiences, and it's like it's a weird dynamic. And at first I thought it was just uh, a thing with men, but actually it can be worse with women. Believe it or not, it's one of those weird things where it's just a appearances thing is so important to us. But God examines our motives, not our actions, our motives. That's very interesting to me. We justify our actions. God examines our motives. And so we need to be aware that because we're being examined by our motives, or judged, if you will, by our motives, we need to be honest about them and and confront those. So the very next thing is clean living before God and justice with our neighbors mean far more to God than religious performance. You can kind of link those together a little bit, can't you? The I have to be very cautious of this in things like this, because this can feel a lot like a performance, because it's just a mode that I have, right? It's it's a default setting. It's like, oh yeah, it's performance time. Let's go. Let's be that DJ, instead of authentic, and so um yeah, that's one thing. But I think what it means here, as far as religious performance, is probably more likely as far as like how you do things or how well you do or whatever. I don't know how that works, um, but the basic living here is the clean living before God and just with the neighbors. That's more important. It's not how you look. It's not how it looks out there. It's really how you live inside that matters, and the rest will come naturally, or maybe it doesn't need to. It doesn't matter. So. I highlighted verse 5 in green. That's when I have something that is an action item for me. That's what I do in green here. And so careful planning puts you ahead in the long run. Hurry and scurry puts you further behind. I have been struggling the last few months with this. I really, really have. Um, One of the questions that I have going into this period of fasting is, you know, it's kind of like one of those "when, oh God, when." Um, I I'll be honest, I'm very much ready to not be dealing with technology anymore. But what I've come to realize is that as I've been in these other circles, I've been kind of injecting the same kind of problems that I have in the technology world. I'm always a step behind. I have this imposter syndrome thing going on, like I said. But what's happening then is I just become very flighty with my the things I'm doing, and so it's this what I'm doing here. This doing this every single day, making that a habit. That is something that I don't even have a checklist for it. It's done. Period. There is no options here. If I need to be away for a time that I'm going to go live, I pre-record it and I make it happen. It's a priority for me. So that sort of thing is um, more what I need, but also just planning in general for the future, and saying, okay, well, am I just running from things or running from thing to thing because I feel inadequate about something, or I feel fearful of something, or I feel it won't work, and so I quit before I try it. I don't know where I get this from. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I, we, we've we've tried in therapy, we've tried all these things. What makes this happen? But I don't know. But the reality is that that causes a hurriness. Wow. Thank you for blocking ads for me and showing me an ad for blocking ads for me. I probably need a new method here. Way to form a distraction there, ad blocker. Thanks. Oh my gosh. All right. Well, I guess what I'm saying here is that a lot of times we have all these different distractions, I guess, but a lot of times it causes a lot of hurry, and so that rush to do something or get it done and kind of scurry around doing other things put you farther behind. And hey, I'll, I'll attribute to that. I'll own that. So, and then of course, promotion to death. That's a thing. Let's move on to verse 9. I think let's split this in half or something close enough. Yeah, we'll do our best. Do your best, prepare for the worst. I didn't. Verse 9. Better to live alone in a tumble down shack than share a mansion with a nagging spouse. Yeah. Um, Last time I told a story about some of these series of verses, um, and how it actually saved me from a a bad decision back 20 years ago, actually. So reference back to those earlier episodes if you want to see that, I guess. But the reality is that that's and just like we choose our heart, God sees our heart. We need to be uh, kind of choosy about who we spend our lives with. But anyway, just saying. Fortunately, upgraded. Wicked souls love to make trouble. They feel nothing but for friends and neighbors. Simpletons only learn the hard way. The wise learn by listening. A God loyal person will see right through the wicked and undo the evil they've planned. If you stop your ears to the cries of the poor, your cries will go unheard, unanswered. A quietly given gift soothes an irritable person. A heartfelt present cools a hot temper. I was struggling with that one. Good people celebrate when justice triumphs, but for the workers of evil, it's a bad day. Whoever wanders off the straight and narrow ends up in a congregation of ghosts. You're addicted to thrills? What an empty life. The pursuit of pleasure is never satisfied. What a bad person plots against the good boomerangs. The plotter gets it in the end. We're seeing a bit of a pattern here. The yeah, about justice and that sort of thing, where it's just like we can get it twisted sometimes. We sometimes don't quite get it right, but sometimes we need a reminder that it's important to try, because it's in the end, yeah, that's what we're talking about here. Is like in the end, God makes it right, and we need to be okay with that. Yeah, let's move on to verse 19. Better to live in a tent in the wild than with a cross and a petulant than with a cross and petulant spouse. Yikes. Valuables are safe in a wise person. Really, Adblock? Really? I don't even know what to do with that. I don't even know. how do you even all right, sorry. You might not have even seen that. I just realized. I was sharing a different window, so you're probably like, what are you talking about, dude? Um, anyway, verse 21, I think is where we were at. Whoever goes hunting for what is right and kind finds life itself, a glorious life. One sage entered a whole city of armed soldiers. Their trusted defenses fell to pieces. Watch your words and hold your tongue. You'll save yourself a lot of grief. You know their names: brash, impudent, blasphemer, intemperate hotheads, every one. I don't know what that's all about. Lazy people finally die of hunger because they won't get up and go to work. Sinners are always wanting what they don't have. The God loyal are always giving what they do have. Ooh, that's quality. Religious performance by the wicked stinks. It's even worse when they use it to get ahead. A lying witness is unconvincing. A person who speaks truth is respected. Unscrupulous people fake it a lot. Honest people are sure of their steps. Nothing clever, nothing conceived, nothing contrived can get the better of God. Do your best, prepare for the worst, then trust God to bring victory. I'm curious what people are getting out of this. I'm going to start putting a message on the bottom or something like that to, if you have a verse that stands out to you, to call it out in the chat, because I don't make this as interactive as I probably should be in thinking about it. Um, but the watch your words and hold your tongue. I actually wrote about this. Wow, back in like 2016 or something like that, about um, why we share things, why we say things, that sort of thing. That obsession with being heard. I literally called it the rising above the herd mentality. Um, if I think of it later, I can put it in the show notes or whatever. But um, yeah, it is a fascinating thing about our culture where we feel a need to be expressed and right and all that kind of thing. And um, so even if we're, I guess what I'm trying to say here is sometimes we are called to speak for justice. That is true, but sometimes we need to give it give it 24 hours. One of the suggestions that my friend had that I really liked, and I've adopted this as part of that whole process, is to, if I feel like I need to say something, I give it 24 hours. And if I still feel like I need to say something 24 hours later, that's probably a conviction of my heart, not just a gut level response or a need to be heard. And then I further examine that. I'm sure someday I'll come up with like a whole framework for this kind of stuff. But the reality is, very few times is it necessary to speak in the moment. And I know we don't believe that in our current go 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 political culture, but that's the reality. Is that there's something to being a little stoic, to just saying, I'm going to measure my words carefully and say them when they're appropriate and when people are willing to hear it. That's the other part about this, is if somebody's like, "Rah, rah, 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 rah," you can't be "Rah, rah, 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 rah," on the other side and think you're going to get anything out of that. It's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. So you need to hold your words. You need to hold that back and examine it for later. Let it marinate a little bit and see if it's quality. If it's not, just throw it out. Anyway, that's my thought about that. Um, I love this saying: sinners are always wanting what they don't have. The God loyal are always always willing to give what they do have. Um, Again, going back to that imposter syndrome thing, I always kind of wonder if I'm generous enough. And yeah, I don't know. It's a weird thing, but at the same time, you do have those patterns in life. You're like, ooh, that'd be nice. Ooh, I wish I had that. Those kind of things do come up. And I guess what I want to say about that is like that is a pattern of sinners. That doesn't make you permanently a sinner. It just means you need to turn path from that and turn away from those thoughts. And then verse 31, one of my favorites: do your best, prepare for the worst, then trust God to bring victory. I say often, you won't rise to the occasion. You'll only rise to your level of preparedness. And I think that's very generally true in these cases that, yeah, it's, it's one of those things where it's like, if you're thinking you're just going to just get through it, or that, you're just going to rely on God to get you through it. I hear that a lot too. And God doesn't say, "Oh yeah, just hang back and do nothing to prepare for bad times. I'll take care of you. Don't worry about it." We seem to think that in our lives, but that's not what God says here, is it? That's not what's in His Word. That's not what this is relaying to us. It's saying, "Do your best and prepare for the worst. Then trust God to bring victory." Um, yeah, it's one of those things where it's just like there's almost a relationship there with like the because you prepared, then God brings victory. God could win it without you, but He doesn't want to. He wants you to have that experience of preparedness. He wants you to have that wisdom in advance. He wants you to have that. And so instead of just doing it for you, I think of my cat Loki. So every night he will like when I'm going to bed, he'll just meow. He'll just want something from me or want attention, and it's fine. I give him attention. But we built this tall cat perch, and um, I was I was just kind of being funny one night, and I just put him up there, and realized that he stayed up there for a long time, and realized that yeah, he's a little scared to get down, and he was scared to get down, and he struggled with it, and eventually, um, yeah, I realized that I was putting him up there, and he wasn't going up there on his own. And so there was one night where I kind of put him on the halfway in the path, and kind of encouraged him, just kind of like did this little thing that I do with him and Thor to see the sorry, one of them's gonna jump up here in a second if I keep doing that. Uh, but that's their signal to come get a pen, some pets and a billy rub. And so I did that up there for a while, and then he eventually got the courage to jump up there on his own. Um, and so I had to increase his level of preparedness in order to set him up for that victory. And I think that's the way God is with us. So anyway, that's an analogy just came straight into my mind like that. Kind of crazy, yeah. Yeah. Well, I am a little fasting update for you here. I am just finishing up a time of fasting, and so um, actually this afternoon, I think or maybe even just later this morning, I'm actually going to go out to try a juice bar here in my new town that I've moved to, and yeah, we're gonna see how it goes. Some of those are good, some of those aren't, but I think I need to get out. I've realized through this process, I'm like, yeah, I haven't been. I've been out for church on Sunday. That's pretty much mostly it. I'm trying to think of other times that I was out. I don't think so. I think in 14 days, I've been out once to go to church and then right back here. So that's not good. So, but anyway, so that's a matter of just like again finding the right things. But today is my last day of um, vegetable focused juices, which is the other way reason I'm going out is to try and get some variety. The process that I'm using is not not the best for vegetables as far as like leafy greens and things like that. And so, um, yeah, good for beets and carrots and celery and things like that. But for leafy stuff, no, not so much. So I'll have to go out. I have to outsource that a little bit. It's adapting. So this is my last day of only juice. Like I mentioned before, I had a whole schedule, but I decided to modify it. This is, I mean, first of all, it was more than 14 days, and that was on purpose. Sometimes I like giving myself a little bit of extra time, um, but the more I thought about it, the more we have some events in our household coming up that I want to be fully energized and ready to participate in, and so I don't want to be, you know, holding other people back or anything like that. So in this particular case, I think it was like, well, I might as well just go ahead and end a little early, end on time, I guess you could say. And so over the next few days, I'm actually moving. So if you look at these reintroducing processes, I'm going to be reintroducing um, uh, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday are going to be my days to reintroduce and be totally done by the end of day on Sunday. And so Sunday will be coffee day. Yay! Looking forward to caffeine again. I know probably should just let it go and not do it at all, but I love my coffee. It's a thing. So anyway, that's what's going on tonight. So tomorrow, I'm going to um, integrate some fruit juices back in and um, that sort of thing. And so you can see that, like, move the 24th here to 22nd here, basically, is I think the way that works, right? More or less, yeah. Yeah, my eyes aren't shifting properly, and I didn't feel like recreating this in Canva, so there you go. But regardless, that's where I'm at, and so it's been a good journey. I do feel. Oh, yes. I had a thing I wanted to share with you yesterday. I almost forgot about this. There was a time I was um, I was in my prayer time, and usually I don't share my prayers with people, but in this particular time, I want to share it. Um, if you'll indulge me, I I was feeling like a kind of like I don't want to say a guilt, but like a discomfort with confessing my sins, and I came to realize that this is something where it's often been a struggle for me to say, oh gosh, I screwed up again. Gosh, God, why do you tolerate this out of me? I don't like going back and asking for the same thing twice. It's really frustrating to me, and to be having, 40 years of doing just that, of always seeming to asking for the same thing. It's just like, gosh, why is this still a struggle? You know, why is the thing I need to always ask for? I don't feel like asking for it. And so it was like the words of Jesus stopping me in my prayers yesterday. And the words that I was given was, how did I put this? I actually shared this with a um, group of other believers as well. Um, Jesus' words were, I knew it would be like that. I did it anyway. I knew it would be like that. I did it anyway. How unbelievably powerful is that? To know that we are in that place of, it's not just that we didn't deserve it, and it's that we often keep doing these things. We let our nature win. Paul admits he struggles with this. It's not a set once and forget kind of a thing. We I don't know if this is a culture that does this, and other cultures don't struggle with this. You have to enlighten me on that one, but But the reality is that we, yeah, it was just an interesting revelation for me. So the verse of the day yesterday was from Joel. Is Joel 2:12 through 13, message translation. There's also this: it's not too late. God's personal message. Come back to me and really mean it. Come fasting and weeping, sorry for your sins. Change your life, not just your clothes. Come back to God, your God. And here's why: God is kind and merciful. He takes a deep breath, puts up with a lot. This most patient God, extravagant in love, who's always ready to cancel catastrophe. Who knows? Maybe he'll do it now. Maybe he'll turn around and show us pity. Maybe when all's said and done, there'll be blessings full and robust for your God. Yeah, I knew it would be like that. I did it anyway. Thanks, Tina. I appreciate that. I hope you all have a blessed day and that you remember God's waiting, waiting with wisdom, waiting with forgiveness every single time. Love you guys. I'll repeat the scripture. Yes. Give me a minute. I will see if I can get through it again. It is Joel 2:12 through 13. But there's also this: it's not too late. God's personal message. Come back to me and really mean it. Come fasting and weeping, sorry for your sins. Change your life, not just your clothes. Come back to God, your God, and here's why: God is kind and merciful. He takes a deep breath, puts up with a lot. This most patient God, extravagant in love, who's always ready to cancel catastrophe. Who knows? Maybe he'll do it now. Maybe he'll turn around and show pity. Maybe when all's said and done, there'll be blessings full and robust for your God. Joel 2:12 through 13. I guess that's actually technically 12 through 14 in other translations. Yeah, you're welcome. Oh, goodness. Well, I hope this was a blessing to you guys. It's been a blessing to me. Um, Obviously, got some things to work through and process on my own. Apparently, um, weeping and fasting. My whole theme was purify, and so that hit hard and continues to. So I appreciate it. I will sign off for now. I'll see you both. Both. My goodness. Woo. I'll see you all tomorrow for another edition of Proverb Each Day. Love you guys. Be blessed by the best. Be blessing all the rest. See you next time.